So to speak, when obtaining spirit rings in the future, as far as possible obtain spirit rings with similar abilities. Not necessarily completely the same, but a similar general direction, in order to avoid spirit rings conflicting with each other, and instead restricting its power situation. Speaking of this, on Grandmaster's face appeared a trace of a grim smile. Very many people all think blue silver grass is a useless spirit, but as a result of my many years of research, I believe blue silver grass similarly has its own purpose. If blue silver grass was not too small and weak at the time of awakening spirit power, even becoming a battle spirit is not impossible. Tang San nodded, saying, "Teacher, you are the spirit research grandmaster. Since you have researched blue silver grass in this way, then please give me some pointers." Grandmaster also did not stand on ceremony. After all, in his eyes, Tang San was only a child. Consulting his opinion was also only symbolic. When speaking of spirits, Grandmaster's mood clearly became excited. Slowly nodding, he said, "On the basis of my analysis of the concept and the blue-silver grass research, I suggest that you cultivate your spirit in the control system direction in the future." Control system masters can be said to be battle spirit masters. They can also be said to be tool spirit masters. They themselves freely waver between the two categories. Control system? Tang San asked. "Teacher, what are the control system capabilities?" Grandmaster said, "What we call control system refers to relying on one's own spirit to restrict the opponent, with the goal of assisting an attack. For example, take your blue-silver grass. Although blue-silver grass is inherently small and weak, it is not without advantages." Blue-silver grass also has advantages? After awakening his blue-silver grass, Tang San had also especially observed the natural form of this kind of grass, discovering nothing as a result. It just had a comparatively vigorous life force. It was ubiquitous, and that's all. Grandmaster raised his right hand, extending one finger, and said, "First of all, the spirit power consumption of using blue-silver grass is considerably small. Compared to food system spirits, the consumption will still be smaller. This means you can depend on its great quantity of spirit power to use it." Tang San nodded. Grandmaster's words were not wrong. When using blue-silver grass, the spirit power consumption could practically be neglected. If pouring spirit power into the spirit, then blue-silver grass growing beyond 10 meters could let him slightly feel some spirit power drain. Grandmaster also extended a second finger. Next, blue-silver grass is most common. Therefore, its confusing nature will be much greater when compared to other spirits, especially those low-intelligence common spirit beasts are like that. Even if you call out your spirit next to them, they may not be able to notice. Extending a third finger. Third, blue-silver grass can grow in boundless ways. Because it's in itself low-end, it can conduct growth in many directions. And since blue-silver grass is in itself small and weak, it cannot reject any spirit ring attribute evolution. Spirits can still reject spirit ring evolution? Tang San asked, astonished. Grandmaster said, "Master, of course, if the spirit itself conflicts with the spirit ring attribute, when looking to add spirit rings to the spirit, it can cause a rejection phenomenon. For example, for spirit beasts, it is very difficult to add spirit rings that possess poison. Although the spirit can have a body, so to speak, while it is also a living body, it is another kind of manifestation of the host's life. If a poison spirit ring is forced on it, they probably will be poisoned first. Among beast spirits, only a few have the ability to assimilate poison and not transfer it to the host. But blue-silver grass is different. It is in itself a plant, and small and weak. Things like absorbing poison is not the least bit difficult." Speaking, he again raised a fourth finger. "In your body, there still is a fourth advantage, precisely that innate full spirit power. On our Douluo continent, the reason why not one formidable blue-silver grass spirit master has appeared, the chief cause is just that, after awakening blue-silver grass spirit, the spirit power attached to the host is truly too small. And innate spirit power has a direct ratio to acquired spirit power cultivation speed. When innate spirit power is too small and weak, it's very difficult to cultivate to even higher levels. And at the later stage of cultivation, hunting and killing a spirit beast is also an even more difficult task. But you are different. You have innate full spirit power. Regardless of whether this spirit power was granted by blue-silver grass or your other hammer spirit, neither influences your bringing it to use on blue-silver grass. Therefore, from your point of view, there are absolutely no disadvantages to cultivating blue silvergrass. Tang San in his heart was secretly full of praise. Truly deserving of calling himself Grandmaster, opting to recognize him as master had not been a mistake at all. A common blue silver grass like his could reveal so many advantages through his analysis. This showed the thoroughness of his spirit research. Those teachers speaking about this profound spirit researcher as only a theory circulating eccentric was simply comical. Grandmaster's mood was clearly somewhat agitated, continuing speaking. After my careful research, growing blue silver grass spirit in the control system direction is most advantageous. Grass is lithe and it can at will grow into various kinds of forms. At its simplest, it can be used as rope, tangling the opponent. Tang San said, "But blue silver grass is so fragile it will split in a struggle. How can it pin the opponent?" Grandmaster said, "This is exactly what growth direction is. With respect to growth in the control system direction, your spirit ring can be chosen to focus in two aspects. First is toughness. The other is poison. Following spirit power promotion, the spirit will also become stronger and stronger. When you have poured even more spirit power into blue silver grass, it will be much tougher compared to natural blue silver grass. After you have obtained the effect of a spirit ring again, pinning your opponent will not be difficult. And speaking of if blue silver grass obtains a poison effect, it will naturally also be able to evolve attack uses." This time Tang San at last thoroughly understood. Restricting the opponent, supplementing poison. If blue silver grass truly could achieve this, then after his hidden weapons did not hit a moving target, he could just stop the target. Of course, to possess all this, he must first clearly establish understanding of spirit power, spirit ring, and his mysterious heaven skill interrelationship. After all, what is called his innate full spirit power could be produced by his mysterious heaven skill cultivation and not come from his spirit awakening. Part 2. Actually, Tang San was not aware that of the two spirits he had, that hammer should give him spirit power. It was only because among the two spirits, blue silver grass produced some negative variation. In addition to that, cultivating mysterious heaven skill with its spirit power had a merging process. Therefore, at the time of the spirit awakening ceremony, it seemed like spirit power did not appear. Even if it had, it still could not manifest appearance because he had already reached the level of innate full spirit power. Hence, without first adding a spirit ring, his spirit power already could not continue rising. Grandmaster drank a mouthful of water. For the moment, let's decide like this. You go back first. Early tomorrow morning, I will come look for you at the dormitory. Okay. Departing Grandmaster's room, Tang San could not be calm for a long time. Grandmaster's explanation about spirits made him understand more clearly than before. This afternoon, by way of Grandmaster's explanation, he also had a proper understanding regarding this Spirit Master vocation at last. Spirit Masters were divided into the two main categories Battle Spirit Masters and Tool Spirit Masters. And under these two main categories, they were also divided into smaller categories of Food System, Control System, Battle System, Healing System, and so on. A Spirit Master's actual strength was closely related with Spirit Rings and Spirit Power. They themselves supplemented and complemented each other in the growth process. Tang San at present understood this completely. He knew that if he wanted to get even more Spirit Master lore, he must follow Grandmaster to continue to study. And Grandmaster deciding to quickly bring him to go obtain a spirit ring made Tang San most happy. Waiting until after having his first spirit ring, regardless of how he said he felt, he could confirm what connection there was between his mysterious heaven skill and this world's spirits. Returning to the dormitory, the other people were not there, and he did not know where on earth they could have gone. Tang San had 2 midday meals, so although the color of the sky was gradually growing late, he was not even a bit hungry. Lying on the bed closing his eyes to rest, he carefully recalled the things Grandmaster had said today, letting his impression deepen even more. As the day hurried to its end, he was also somewhat tired. Unconsciously, he already passed into sleep. Hi. Not knowing how long, a voice out of nowhere brought Tang San out of his light sleep. Although right now he hadn't rested much, his alert nature still was not small. Subconsciously opening his eyes, looking straight at her lovable pretty face, Xiao Wu looked at Tang San. It still isn't late enough to sleep. Will you still be able to sleep at night? Tang San hurriedly, somewhat awkwardly clambered up. Right now, Xiao Wu bent over the boundary in the middle of their two beds, looking at him with a charming smile. Tang San discovered that all the working students had already returned. Sitting up on the bed, pointing to the dividing boundary, he said, "You're crossing the border." Xiao Wu happily laughed and said, "What crossing the border? I'm a girl. You should invite me, isn't that right? Of course, you absolutely cannot cross the boundary." Looking at her flushed little face, Tang San truly wanted to pinch it, but in the end he didn't have the heart to. "You wantin'? Xiao Wu, tomorrow I probably have to go out for a while. I also do not know just how late I can return. I'm telling you in advance." "Go out? Go where?" Xiao Wu asked, full of curiosity. Tang San did not hold back. "Teacher said my spirit power is already full, and should as soon as possible obtain the first spirit ring. So in order to continue cultivation, he intends to bring me to look for an appropriate one." Xiao Wu was considered Room 7's room senior, and he did not know how many days he must be gone, so making it clear to her was naturally necessary. Of course, this was also related to today's clash with Wang Sheng at lunch. Right now, he still did not have the mood to understand Wang Sheng. Listening to Tang San speaking of going to obtain a spirit ring, other than Xiao Wu, the other students' faces suddenly all revealed envious expressions. Regarding the Spirit Master topic, there was no matter as significant in comparison. 10th rank Spirit Scholars only differed 1 rank from 11th rank Spirit Masters, but regarding positions of strength, they were both worlds apart. And when going up to this kind of seniority was also distinct. Xiao Wu frowned and said, "Still not having started attending school, you are about to leave. Is a spirit ring really so important?" Before Tang San had started to speak, Xiao Wu discovered the atmosphere around them was peculiar. The other working students were all looking at her with a monstrous expression in their eyes. Was Spirit Ring important? Having to ask. Regarding the Spirit Master topic, there was practically no matter more important than Spirit Ring. Get going then. However, what's to be done about our working student work? If you leave, I'm the only person doing that work. Xiao Wu angrily looked at Tang San. Tang San had no alternative but to say, "Can't have that. So these days I will trouble you to work hard for a bit. And when I return later, count the remainder of this term's work as mine. Half the wages are yours as usual, how's that?" With his physical strength, sweeping the flower garden simply did not count for anything, and Xiao Wu's soft skill astonished him greatly. So afterwards he still wanted to find an opportunity to continue exchanging pointers. He also was not a person fond of profiting at other people's expense. Xiao Wu then showed a trace of a smile. "Fine, then it's settled like this." Tang San's dinner as before was coarse, flat cake. Just after the sky had darkened, all the working students already sat on their beds starting spirit power cultivation. Different from ordinary students, working students' cultivation was much more painstaking. Even though their aptitude was probably the same, cultivating spirits could be said to be their only future way out. By observing, Tang San discovered that these working students' posture for cultivating spirits was about the same as his. On the body faint pale spirit power waves appeared, only he did not know how they truly carried out cultivation. Only Xiao Wu was a person refusing to stay idle. She also was not cultivating. When Tang San just finished eating his rations, she pulled on him, insisting to go out for a stroll. If it was before, Tang San certainly also would have cultivated mysterious heaven skill. But right now, he had long since reached the bottleneck, and Purple Demon Eye also could only be practiced in early morning. Unable to bear Xiao Wu's repeated urging, he had no choice but to follow her out from the dormitory. At this time of the season, the weather was the most comfortable. The air was pleasantly cool but not chilly. By now, the sky had already darkened. Stars hung above in the sky, cool and bright. "Little San, look! Heaven has so many stars!" Xiao Wu was jumping for joy, bouncing and vivacious. She was not in any way short on the liveliness of children this age. She called Tang San by Little San, and not Little Third. In addition to that, she also was a girl, so Tang San could not protest. He could not help but say, "You pulled me out for the sake of looking at stars?" By now, outside the dormitory building, already very few students and teachers could be seen. Not until later, Tang San knew dusk cultivation was a spirit master tradition. Xiao Wu, smiling, said, "No, of course not. I want to spar with you again." During the day, I anticipated the opening move, and with an effort managed a surprise attack. Defeating you was a one-sided fight. Seeing your appearance was also somewhat unconvinced, I'll again give you a good opportunity. A girl as warlike as Xiao Wu definitely could not often be seen, but this was to Tang San's liking. Immediately rousing his spirit, "Good, then come on." Xiao Wu, smiling, used a finger to scratch her face. "If in a moment I have you on your stomach, don't be sniveling, oh? Are you ready or not?" Seeing her lovable appearance, Tang San couldn't help but pause a moment, but still very quickly recovered his balance. "Come on." "Good, I'm coming." While speaking, Xiao Wu's face revealed a slightly wicked smile and walked in the direction of Tang San. Indeed coming, but certainly not attacking. Tang San, frowning, said, "What on earth are you doing? Weren't we exchanging pointers?" By now, Xiao Wu had already walked up to him, so the distance was less than 1 meter. Even though they both still were children, and their arms and legs not long, Xiao Wu still walked as before, having already lost leg attack distance. From the perspective of spirits, Tang San knew since Xiao Wu's spirit was a rabbit, and the rabbit's strongest place was the leg, her legs should also be the fiercest. This bit he could see from when they fought during the day. By now, she had lost the position to employ the legs. What could she actually be thinking? Xiao Wu nodded, smiling, said, "Right. Have I not come to exchange pointers with you?" Just as Tang San in his heart felt uncertain, Xiao Wu abruptly flung back her head, the scorpion braid on the back of her head becoming a black shadow winding in the direction of Tang San's neck. Was this way also all right? A method using hair to attack was the first time Tang San had seen anything like it. But he was all along on alert for Xiao Wu's attack, and watching her scorpion braid whip at him, he immediately retreated a step, simultaneously lifting the left hand, twisting towards Xiao Wu's hair. Shortly the braid would be caught, then Xiao Wu could not again have combat effectiveness. Xiao Wu's hands came together to lift her braid, so when Tang San raised his hand, suddenly realizing Xiao Wu's hands already had lifted up, just as his hand still did not meet Xiao Wu's long hair, Xiao Wu abruptly raised her head, scorpion braid already crossing Tang San's palm, and her own hand closely going up. Xiao Wu's hand lithe and brilliant, soft, meeting it was like being hit with a bundle of cotton. But Tang San right now was not in the mood to be affected by beauty, because he, gaping with astonishment, discovered that Xiao Wu's arm unexpectedly twisted bizarrely a moment, not only twining his palm, but even in a flash extended, twining around his arm. At this same time, her other hand lifted, and that up-overhead scorpion braid fell from overhead, as if it was her third hand, winding in the direction of Tang San's neck. Xiao Wu's arm seemed fair and soft, but was extremely tough. With Tang San's strength, he was unable to struggle free from her twining. Underfoot forcing a leap back, but Xiao Wu's body was like 4 weights of cotton following together with his leap. While Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track was exquisite, like this it had already lost effect. In order to avoid Xiao Wu's scorpion braid, Tang San abruptly raised his head, bending backwards at the waist, using the iron panel bridge form to dodge. Simultaneously, unable to still hold back mysterious heaven skill, moving both arms since he was afraid to injure Xiao Wu, he only used half the effect. Who could know that when Tang San used force, Xiao Wu's both hands abruptly let go. Immediately following, Tang San felt a great force coming from his waist, and suddenly, unable to again judge control, immediately fell backwards. With a thump, Tang San fell to the ground facing up. 2 small hands supported by the gravitational force caused by his fall pressed on Tang San's 2 shoulder joints, causing both his arms a burst of tingling, unable to exert strength. And by then, Xiao Wu's body completely sat straddling his waist, triumphantly looking at him. Tang San's lower abdomen in comprehensive contact with and feeling the elasticity of Xiao Wu's little butt. How about it? Convinced or not? Xiao Wu lowered her head to look at Tang San, face ecstatic. If speaking of the first time when Xiao Wu threw Tang San, it was certainly not the best feeling, this time was depressing. From the point of view of physical strength, Xiao Wu seemed compared to him must be weaker. But this fighting method of hers was too strange. Tang San's own fighting experience also was not considered abundant, then suddenly came into contact with this method. Not convinced, come again. Tang San looked at Xiao Wu in his heart refusing to give in. Xiao Wu triumphantly said, "You still want to? But I won't give you the opportunity. Having skill, you first struggle free again." How to struggle free of shoulder joint control? Mysterious Heaven Skills operation route was obstructed. What on earth are you up to? Still not quickly getting up. In public to go so far? At this time, a discordant voice reached them. Xiao Wu and Tang San simultaneously looked up, only to see a female teacher walk in their direction in a rage. Indeed, right now Tang San and Xiao Wu's posture was truly somewhat unbecoming. Tang San lying flat on the ground, both arms spread on two sides, Xiao Wu straddling his waist, both hands pressing down on his shoulders and head bent to look at him. Even though the two were only children, but this action truly was somewhat... Xiao Wu's little face turned red, jumping up to her feet from on top of Tang San. Tang San also took advantage of being free and climbed to his feet. The female teacher had already come over, angrily said, "You two, what do you have to say?" Tang San felt he as the boy should explain, but before he had opened his mouth, Xiao Wu already rushed to explain. "Teacher, we are exchanging pointers." "Exchanging pointers? Lying on the ground exchanging pointers? Taking what appearance? How have your families taught you? It looks as if you ought to be this year's first-year students, right? Such young scholars flirting? What about when grown up?" The teacher's reprimand was like the sound of popping beans in the two people's ears. Tang San stealthily glanced at Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu was also looking at him and stuck out her tongue in his direction. Hearing the teacher speaking about parents, Tang San could not help but say, "Teacher, we truly were exchanging pointers on spirit abilities." The term spirit abilities he had during the day, heard Wang Sheng say, at this point could also be considered learning and using. The female teacher looked at him with a somewhat disdainful eye and said, "You have just entered the academy. What spirit abilities could you have? Making up lies is also not a reasonable approach. Move, follow me to the dean's office." "No!" Tang San and Xiao Wu answered practically in unison. Tang San earnestly said, "Teacher, we really were exchanging pointers on spirit abilities. How about we let you see us exchanging pointers?" Xiao Wu clapped her chest, saying, "I'll come. Teacher, you don't say anything? I'll also exchange pointers with you for a moment, okay?" Without waiting for the female teacher to react by coming over, Xiao Wu leapt up, worthy of a rabbit spirit. This leap of hers was truly high, no less than 1 meter off the ground, both hands directly held in the direction of the teacher's neck. Xiao Wu leaping this high also startled that female teacher. Subconsciously, she raised both hands to ward off Xiao Wu's arms. Tang San in his heart was snickering. This teacher might get the worst of it. Tang San still did not know Xiao Wu's real strength, but he was very clear about his own strength. Even though his mysterious heaven skill could not advance, but relying on his own physical strength, in addition to the first-tier pinnacle mysterious heaven skill, he still could not look down on this world's spirit additional capability circumstances. And comparing efficacy, he was even a bit higher than this opponent, who also definitely was not a match for his Tang sect martial arts. And Xiao Wu was a person who could a moment ago defeat him. Her spirit ability was so singularly strange that regardless of who faced it for the first time, probably all would be at a disadvantage. As expected, the female teacher's both hands were tangled up by Xiao Wu's arms, practically in the first moment, and immediately afterwards, her scorpion braid also whipped out, just happening to twine about that female teacher's neck. This, after all, was a primary Spirit Master Academy, and the teacher's general strength was also only around the level of a Spirit Grandmaster, for the most part at 25th rank on average. From that point of view, not exceeding a 30th rank Spirit Master, they were practically in the first moment unable to possess their own spirit abilities. These teachers in fighting skills were by far unable to compare to Tang San. And at present, this female teacher facing 2 first-year students naturally was unable to think of using her spirit. This female teacher is herself also a tool spirit master, with priority to assistance. Therefore, when face-to-face, she was already greatly deficient. Xiao Wu's scorpion braid wound about the female teacher's neck, both arms entangling both her hands. Both her leaping legs simultaneously stretched forward, just enough to kick down at the female teacher's lower abdomen. Just when these practically at the same time accomplished, her upper body abruptly bent back, pulling back the scorpion braid with both hand strength. Faintly pale white light could be seen appearing on Xiao Wu's body. The teacher cried out in alarm in the middle of losing balance. Xiao Wu's both hands released at the right time, producing an escape flip movement, both legs kicking, and the female teacher's body at once flew back. Xiao Wu's movements towards the teacher were not as gentle as against Tang San. This time, the teacher's body was kicked a full 3 meters away, falling heavily to the ground. Even if this female teacher had spirit power body protection, falling was confusing. All along can't find direction. Xiao Wu walked up next to the female teacher, big eyes blinking, an innocent face. "Teacher, you alright?" The female teacher dully applied spirit power, clambering to her feet with difficulty. Looking at Xiao Wu's appearance, her eyes revealing a bewildered expression. Spirit ability? Definitely it was spirit ability. Otherwise, even if she was not a battle spirit master, how could she be thrown by a young child like this? And also, when she tangled, both her hands suddenly became extremely tough. That absolutely was a spirit adding effect. What kind of person was this girl anyway? The female teacher could perhaps not care about Xiao Wu. She also believed that when using her spirit circumstances, would be able to subdue this child. But she had no choice but to consider Xiao Wu's background. From one point of view of Douluo's formidable spirit masters, spirits all are clan inheritance. This young possessing spirit ability, it shows her spirit had great ferocity. The female teacher in her heart couldn't help but be perturbed. She was just a spirit grandmaster, and this child might have the strength of a spirit master ancestral family. As a spirit master from a common family, she could not cause offense. Later you must not exchange pointers on the sports ground. You must have a teacher nearby to safeguard. Do you understand? The female teacher simply explained in a few sentences and left dejected and depressed. In her heart resolving to first thing tomorrow look into this girl's background. Looking at the female teacher's gradually distancing figure, Tang San asked in a low voice in Xiao Wu's direction. "That move you used just now, it seems quite powerful." Xiao Wu rather proudly said, "I already stayed my hand. Otherwise, the consequence could have been very serious. Oh, that is called rabbit-kicking eagle, can be my proudest technique." Having spoken to here, she suddenly looked warily in Tang San's direction. "Why are you asking so clearly? Thinking about later producing a good countermeasure?" Tang San couldn't help but shake his head, saying, "You are clearly gauging the heart of a gentleman with your own mean measure." Xiao Wu angrily said, "You dare say I am a base person? Then we will continue exchanging pointers, right?" Tang San looked at Xiao Wu and could not help but be somewhat speechless. This silly girl bullied him as if addicted to bullying. Since it was merely exchanging pointers, how could he be afraid? Hooking his hand in Xiao Wu's direction, "Then come on." Xiao Wu at his side turned and counterattacked with her palm coming at him. Having experienced the second lesson, Tang San could not let her easily tangle him. He knew that dealing with Xiao Wu's style of close quarters attack method was an uncertain opponent, so opening distance was the best method. Figure dodging, quickly retreating, already dodging several meters away. Xiao Wu snorted, "Comparing speed, I still won't fear you." Body shooting forward, she pounced in Tang San's direction. Tang San smiled slightly. This time he was at last fully prepared. If he again let Xiao Wu easily throw him, then for these years he truly would have practiced in vain. In his eyes flashed a trace of faint purple, the trace of using demon purple eye. Under the effect of purple demon eye, Xiao Wu's movements were clear and slow to his eyes. Feet stepping with perplexing track, one smooth step already shifted him more than 2 meters, just enough to avoid Xiao Wu's pounce. Even for her hair braid and long legs, it was still impossible to reach 2 meters out. Xiao Wu was clearly dumbfounded. She herself had expert agility, and Tang San's speed had not seemed faster, but just enough to be able to avoid her opening pounce. And from her point of view, to bring out her most expert soft skill, she had to first come into contact with the opponent's body. This time, Tang San simply did not give her an opportunity like that. Xiao Wu naturally could not resign, taking a rabbit stance, and again she increasing the speed a bit, pursuing Tang San with bare fangs and brandished claws. Tang San took a deep breath. Mysterious heaven skill flowing down, entering both legs, feet using ghost shadow perplexing track, circling this wide open sports ground with Xiao Wu. Ghost shadow perplexing track was extremely marvelous. Seemingly Tang San's movements were certainly not fast, but every step taken secretly contained extreme power. No matter how fast Xiao Wu's speed or in which direction she pounced, he could always at the most appropriate time take a step in the best direction, not giving Xiao Wu the opportunity to approach him. This could in fact be Tang sect's true art. Tang sect practitioners were not necessarily contesting with the opponent directly from the front, since they were most skilled in hidden weapons. Relying on lightness skill in combination with hidden weapons was the killer weapon of Tang sect disciples. Two people, one pursuing and one dodging. In a moment, they had already moved all over half the sports ground. Xiao Wu, already starting to be somewhat out of breath, could no matter how not catch up to Tang San. "Hey, you are this shameless." Not catching up, Xiao Wu simply did not pursue, and stood there fuming with anger, both hands on her waist, big eyes glaring at Tang San. "We are exchanging pointers, not playing catch-up. Your constant dodging counts as what? Have the skill to attack at me, ah!" Tang San smiled slightly. "Good, then you take care." While speaking, he conveniently gathered from the side of the sports ground several stones into the palm of his hand. "Striking your left shoulder." One stone already flew out. Xiao Wu snorted, her body in a flash dodging to the right. "Striking your right shoulder, left lower leg, right lower leg." 3 stones simultaneously flew out from Tang San's palm. The first stone truly was striking towards Xiao Wu's left shoulder, but right now she was watching 3 stones as if flying in a single direction, in her heart thinking to herself, "This fellow is definitely deceiving me." Not retreating and instead advancing, suddenly accelerating, facing Tang San and pouncing, simultaneously raising both hands before her chest to block. It was only a pebble, nothing more, just knock it down. But making Xiao Wu shocked, a scene took place. Just as she saw she could clap down the stones, those 3 pebbles suddenly separated and flying out in 3 different directions. At such a close distance, there already was not enough time for an effective reaction. Ayu. 3 stones fell in place, just right to strike Xiao Wu's right shoulder, left lower leg, and right lower leg. Although Tang San had not infused mysterious heaven skill into the pebbles, when struck head-on, Xiao Wu still felt a burst of extreme pain. "Good! You dare use stones to hit me!" Xiao Wu certainly did not know that this was Tang San's since arriving in this world, the first time genuinely facing an opponent using hidden weapons. What he used was a mysterious heaven profound record, the hidden weapons 100 separation technique, Swallow's parting flight. Seeming simple, but in it was contained cunning tricks that were extremely exquisite. Among the hidden weapons 100 separation technique, because of the mysterious heaven skill restriction, up until now Tang San was only with an effort able to use 2 or 3 kinds, that's all. This Swallow's parting flight was the only one among them that was extremely proficient. "Allowing you to throw me but not letting me use pebbles? This time it's your loss." Doesn't count. Come again." Xiao Wu firmly believed she need only be prepared. In no way could Tang San hit the mark again. "Xiao Wu, you still want to? Then come on." Continuing exchanging pointers and also continuing for a very long time. As for results, when Tang San early on the second day left the Nuoding Primary Spirit Master Academy with Grandmaster, on his lips he was still talking about how striking a moving target was fun. And that same evening, no story took place with 2 people sharing a bed. After all, they were too tired from exchanging pointers. Early morning, when the vast majority of Nuoding Academy's teachers and students were still in deep sleep, one tall and one short, 2 people already left through the big academy gate. "Teacher, where will we go to find spirit beasts?" These people departing from the academy were only Grandmaster and Tang San. "We will go 400 li northeast of Nuoding City to Spirit Hunting Forest. There is where the Empire holds spirit beasts captive. Certainly can find something that suits you." Grandmaster today wore tough clothing, seeming like it somewhat increased his heroic spirit. It was only that stiff face that, like before, gave people a kind of discordant feeling. Captive? Spirit beasts can also be held captive? "Teacher, you can explain spirit beast lore to me, right?" Grandmaster nodded and said, "High-level spirit beasts naturally cannot be captured, but lower-level ones can. Spirit beasts are a type of animal that possesses spirit power. The longer they exist, the more powerful they become. Therefore, from this point of view, based on number of years, we divide them into 5 levels. 10-year spirit beasts, 100-year spirit beasts, 1,000-year spirit beasts, 10,000-year spirit beasts, and 100,000-year spirit beasts. Its meaning is just as the name implies. A spirit beast cultivating for over 10 years is a 10-year spirit beast, and so on. Spirit rings are distinguished in the same way as spirit beasts. Spirit rings of different age are very easily recognized. It can be seen from color. Of these 10-year spirit beasts, spirit rings are white. 100-year beast rings are yellow. 1,000-year spirit beasts spirit rings are purple. 10,000-year spirit beasts are black. And 100,000-year spirit beasts spirit rings are red. Those that are regularly captured by the country, supplying spirit masters with spirit beasts to hunt and kill, for the most part are 10 years and 100 years. Few 1,000-year spirit beasts appear.